Today I'm going to be taking a look at The Big Bang Theory Season 2, Episode 7, The Panty, Piñata, Polarization. This is a notable episode because this is the first time that Sheldon and Penny have a major conflict. This episode starts off with Leonard, Sheldon, Raj, and Howard in the apartment playing Klingon Boggle. Now, I looked into this and my best searches came up with nothing. This does not appear to be a real game, just something that I guess they made up for this episode. It would be a cool game if it was real. The Klingon dictionary on the table, however, is a real book. Penny comes in and says she needs to use their TV to watch America's Next Top Model because apparently she hasn't paid her cable bill. She puts on the show and Sheldon insists that she watches it on mute, and then he begins another round of Klingon Boggle. Everybody else's attention is immediately captured into the show. Howard, of course, obsessed with the beautiful women now on the television, and he describes each of them as the future next Mrs. Wolowitz. And Leonard reminds him that they can move in with him and his mother, the current Mrs. Wolowitz. Howard is immediately obsessed with the fact that this house with these women in are within driving distance of him, and says some more creepy things to the point where Penny decides to get up and leave, and says she's gonna go pay her cable bill. The round of Klingon Boggle is over, and Sheldon's the only one who had found any words, because he's the only one who had played that round. Next we see Raj and Howard and Leonard in Sheldon's apartment, again watching America's Next Top Model, and they are trying to figure out a way to find the model's house. Raj starts marking star charts and landmarks to be able to trace it on a map. Leonard comes in bringing dinner for everybody. Penny comes over to watch the show as well, and they call out Sheldon. Sheldon runs over with Leonard his very particular order as usual, and Leonard, as usual, has met most of his requirements that he was able to, although not 100% of them. Sheldon leaves his plate for a moment and goes to get something, and while he's gone, Penny, not thinking anything of it, takes one of his onion rings. Everybody else is immediately alarmed and tells her to quickly put it back before Sheldon sees, but she unfortunately puts it back in the wrong position, and when Sheldon comes back, he asks who touched his food, and everybody immediately sells out Penny and says that she did it. Sheldon is making a big deal, saying that nobody touches his food, and Penny's trying to tell him that it's not that big of a deal to get over it, but he says he's sorry. This is going to be her second strike. She wants to know what her first strike had been, and Sheldon informs her that she forwarded him something that he considers junk mail. She continues to argue with Sheldon, and Leonard tries to downplay the situation, telling her that the strikes only stay on her record for a year, and Howard chimes in that she can get them taken off early if she's willing to take Sheldon's class. Penny continues to push the situation and makes it worse by sitting in Sheldon's spot, and he then tells her she needs to move. She says she's taking a stand, and so he's had enough, and he gives her strike 3, and she wants to know what that means. Well, it turns out what that means is that she is now banished. Leonard follows her out into the hall and tries to calm her down, and wants to know if she's willing to take Sheldon's class in order to sweep this situation under the rug. And this is the start of their little back and forth in this episode. The next step is at the Cheesecake Factory. First, we have the group there, and Raj and Howard have a map, and they are showing where they think the house of the top models is and how they can try to get there. When Penny eventually comes to take everybody's order, she goes over everybody's order except for Sheldon's. She says that he is banished from the Cheesecake Factory and that there is a new policy of no shoes, no shirts, no Sheldon's. Howard notes that they could probably sell that t-shirt all over Pasadena. Leonard makes another attempt to get Penny to apologize and make peace with Sheldon, which she refuses to do. Sheldon does complain to Penny's manager, and so she eventually does bring him his meal, but dares him to eat it, indicating that she's probably messed with it in some way. Although just the threat was probably enough. Back at the apartment, Howard and Raj indicate that they've found the model house using a drone from a friend of Howard's who works at NORAD to fly over and find it with some high-resolution camera shots. Penny comes in and we see the next shot that Sheldon has fired. He has changed the Wi-Fi password and blocked her from using it. He says that he'll restore her access if she apologizes, or she can call the phone company and get her own Wi-Fi. Leonard tells Penny that she doesn't want to continue getting into it with Sheldon, and she says that she was in junior rodeo. She could hog tie and castrate him in under 30 seconds. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Howard attempts to help her get back on the Wi-Fi network, but Sheldon has planned for that and tells them all for trying to circumvent his will, they are all getting an additional strike, which Howard realizes means he now has to take the class again. I would actually like to see what this class is that Sheldon has people take to get a strike removed from their record. And now it's Penny's turn to take a shot at this battle. She's waiting for Sheldon outside the apartment, and as he comes out, she says it's Saturday night, laundry night, and Sheldon says yes, and she says it would be a shame if something messed with that. She follows him down the stairs to the laundry room as he arrives to find that every washing machine in the laundry room is full. Sheldon tries to pretend it won't bother him, saying he could do laundry another night, but Penny says in his heart he'll always know that that's not Saturday night. Sheldon warns her that she's messing with forces beyond her ken, and she says his Ken can kiss her Barbie. And now it's back to Sheldon's turn, and he makes a big move in this case. Penny comes up the stairs, very angry, and bangs on the door using Sheldon's knock against him, the triple knock saying Sheldon. And when Sheldon comes in, she wants to know where her clothes are. She says they're missing from the laundry room, and he says she shouldn't have left them unattended, as a sign indicates. They go inside, and we get to a point where we get to our title moment, because he goes over and says he saw some women's undergarments outside, and points out the window to where Penny sees her undergarments hanging from a telephone pole. She's very angry, but Sheldon laughs at her and says she's going to have to play Panty Piñata. She says he needs to get the clothes down for her, and he says she needs to apologize to him. They're going back and forth, very upset. Leonard comes in and sees them talking and thinks it's a good thing, but quickly realizes it's not. And as Penny's leaving, she says it's not just on, it's now Junior Rodeo on, which Leonard quickly realizes is a bad thing for Sheldon. Leonard sees what Sheldon's done, and he decides that this has gone far enough. He needs to try to intervene. He goes over and gives Penny Leonard's kryptonite and tells her that he cannot find out where she got it from. Penny even seems a little shocked that Leonard was willing to give this to her. And what is Sheldon's kryptonite? Well, we find that out next, because back at the apartment, the phone rings and Leonard answers and tells Sheldon it's for him, and it is Sheldon's mother on the phone. That's his kryptonite. As we've seen in previous episodes, she's able to control Sheldon, and while we don't hear her side of the conversation, it's very clear that she's reprimanding Sheldon for his actions against Penny. He's objecting and very upset, but he eventually does agree to what she says. He's going to apologize and get her clothes down. Sheldon, when he gets off the phone, asks Leonard if he told on him. Leonard says of course not, he's already got 2 strikes, so he wouldn't risk that, but we see Leonard give a devious smile into the camera. And we do see Sheldon go and return Penny's clothes to her and apologize. She thanks him and says that's good and asks if she can sit wherever he wants, and she realizes that's going a little too far. Sheldon tells Penny well done and says that with great power comes great responsibility. She acknowledges this and they go their separate ways, ending the feud. And we end the episode with Howard and Raj. They've found the top model house, they've made it inside, pretending to be cable or satellite repairmen, and we don't know what happens next, but we know that they are going to follow the next Mrs. Wolowitz. This is a very good episode. I love this war between Sheldon and Penny in this episode. The back and forth is pretty good and escalates quickly to the point where Leonard actually feels he needs to intervene and try to stop it. It is the first major conflict between Sheldon and Penny. Now, I don't think Sheldon and Penny have a lot of major conflicts in the show. They do, of course, butt heads, as everybody butts heads with Sheldon because he's so specific and wants everything done his way. He butts heads with everybody in the show, but this is their first major conflict here. And I like that the resolution comes. Leonard has to let Penny get Sheldon's mom involved. As we've seen in previous episodes, Sheldon does listen to his mother, or at least respect her more than other people, and she's able to control him to a degree. As I've stated before, the friendship between Sheldon and Penny is one of my favorite parts of the show. It grows in a unique way throughout the series. So like I said, while they do bump heads, they don't have a lot of major arguments. And I do like that it comes to a peaceful resolution by the end of the episode. It is interesting to note that neither party was willing to back down. And I am always curious how this would have continued to escalate had they continued on with their little back and forth battle. Just how far would either side have been willing to go to continue to prove a point? It's also funny to picture Sheldon having folded Penny's laundry, folding women's undergarments. Seems like it would make Sheldon pretty uncomfortable. And as I stated before, one thing that still bothers me from this episode is I want to know what's in Sheldon's class he makes people take if they get 3 strikes. I like this episode a lot. I think it's a very high point in this season, and it's a good way to go. The main story is great, and the side story of Raj and Howard trying to find the next top models is pretty entertaining as well. I score this episode as a very good 10 out of 10 episode. Please let me know your thoughts on this episode in the comment section. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and keep an eye out for the next video coming soon.